Beneath farmland near Xi'an, an army was buried as if the state itself could be stored underground. Thousands of life-size soldiers, officers, horses, and chariots, arranged in battle order, not as decoration. The Terracotta Army feels supernatural only until you see the real secret: organization. Workshops, standardized parts, firing infrastructure, and a bureaucracy capable of turning clay into an empire. Qin Shi Huang's greatest weapon wasn't only an army of the living. It was a system that could command labor, materials, and time. The mausoleum complex was a national-scale project, not a single tomb room. The Terracotta Army pits are one visible component of a much larger plan designed to project imperial control beyond death. The modern world didn't hunt this army down. Local digging work in the 1970s revealed fragments that led to the first pit. That matters because the site was not curated for centuries like a palace. It was hidden, collapsed, and partially damaged. The shock was immediate. The find looked like a military deployment frozen mid-command. The pits are engineered spaces with corridors and ranks that mirror military thinking: front lines, flanks, and command zones. This isn't random storage of statues. It's a map of warfare translated into architecture. The planning alone proves this was managed like a state project, not a sculptor's commission. Here's the puzzle that matters. How do you produce thousands of life-size figures fast enough, consistent enough, and detailed enough to look like individuals? The most plausible answer is industrial logic. Standardize what can be standardized, then customize what the eye cares about. It's mass production with human finishing. Clay is not just dirt. To survive drying and firing at large size, it must be processed, mixed, and controlled. A project like this begins long before sculpting: extracting clay, removing impurities, managing moisture, and keeping batches consistent. If the material pipeline fails, everything fails. Evidence suggests many figures were built in sections: legs, torso, arms, joined while the clay was at the right firmness. This allows specialization. One team shapes legs, another builds torsos, another assembles and reinforces. Modular work turns one masterpiece into a repeatable output. The heads appear individualized, but individuality doesn't require starting from zero each time. A realistic manufacturing approach is base forms or molds for core shapes, then hand finishing: eyelids, mustaches, wrinkles, and expressions. The result: speed from standardization, identity from final detailing. Armor plates, knots, collars, and hairstyles function like rank badges. Even without text labels, the army communicates hierarchy and roles through visual standards. That means the workshops weren't only making bodies, they were producing structured information, encoded in clay. The hardest part of large ceramics is not sculpting, it's controlling drying and stress. A life-size hollow figure can warp or crack if moisture escapes unevenly. That implies careful staging, controlled drying zones, timing discipline, and repair routines before firing. Industrial skill is often the ability to prevent failure, not just create form. You don't fire an army in a single kiln. The most plausible picture is a network: multiple kilns, repeated firing cycles, and coordinated transport of fragile greenware and finished pieces. Every firing is a risk event. The achievement is not perfection, it's producing enough intact output to fill entire formations. Many figures were associated with real bronze weapons, blades, spearheads, and crossbow components, showing that ceramic production was synchronized with metalworking. Even if not every weapon remains in place today, the idea is clear: this was not only sculpture. It was a combined manufacturing ecosystem. Mechanical components like crossbow triggers reward repeatability, consistent dimensions, reliable fit, and batch production. This is where the Terracotta Army feels surprisingly modern: specialists producing standardized parts that integrate with a larger system. Clay bodies and bronze hardware had to align. Researchers' report marks linked to workshops or oversight, evidence of responsibility structures. The exact reading of every mark is complex, but the function is clear: accountability. Large projects don't maintain quality through hope, they enforce it through organization, inspection, and consequences. What you see today is misleading. Many figures were originally painted over lacquer-like layers with vivid pigments. When exposed after excavation, that color can deteriorate rapidly, which is why conservation is so difficult. The silent gray army is a modern illusion created by time and exposure. The pits show evidence of disturbance, collapsed structures, broken figures, signs consistent with ancient destruction and later decay. That matters because it ties the army to political reality. Dynasties change, power collapses, and even engineered monuments can be attacked or abandoned. The ruins are part of the story. This wasn't only about belief in an afterlife, it was a performance of authority. A ruler who organized the living world could stage control underground as well. The army broadcasts a message, the state continues, the emperor remains guarded, and the empire's order is eternal, at least in symbolism. The Terracotta Army is terrifying because it is human. Clay, fire, bronze, and bureaucracy, turned into a military system beneath the earth. Some details remain debated, but the core truth holds. This was ancient industrial power at full scale. Comment what shocked you most: modular production, kilns, weapons, or the coded ranks, and subscribe to World of Mysteries.